Hi, my name's Chris, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how you can put in your own flooring by yourself. It's going to save you money, and it's going to save you a lot of time. And specifically, the two flooring types I'm going to show you how to lay are carpet square tiles, just like this, and snap together vinyl flooring. And this particular stuff has a cork bottom. All this coming up. All right, so now with your carpet squares, they're going to come in boxes like this. I've got kind of a mess in here right now, but this is kind of what they look like. They're a 2x2 square. These are just carpet scraps that we have. This is what we have. Now this particular carpet square, there's different kinds. There's a kind with a rubber mesh on the bottom, and that would be a waterproof. This is not waterproof, this is a water resistant. Now these come in many different colors. And this is just a really tightly knit together fibers, and that when water is spilled or whatever a liquid is spilled, it disperses the water enough so it doesn't affect your, say you have concrete or wood underneath this. Now with the wood vinyl planks, and they come in longer boxes more like this. You got this, we went with this particular kind. There's many different kinds. It's kind of a honey color, and on the bottom it's a cork. Now the advantage to a cork bottom flooring is that you don't get that tapping sound that you would get if it was just plastic flooring. It's much better as far as sound quality. You're going to want to invest, and if you can, pick up the cork bottom stuff, not the plastic stuff. Now how the rivs work to attach them is they have these little grooves, and I'll show you more in depth on how to lay them. They come like this, and you intergroove them together. They snap into place, and then the back side is basically just the hookup attachment part. And they're really simple, really easy. I'll show you how to do it hands-on. Okay, so here's the room we're going to be doing today. It is all this flooring was laid in 1982, and as you can see, this is just your average out-of-date shag carpet. Oh, it's not really shag. It's not a short carpet like you would want like for a commercial grade thing. All of it. Now this stuff, this was laid a little bit later, but this is that you just stick down squares. We're going to literally go right over the top with this, with the vinyl wood plank flooring, and with the carpet, we're just going to tear it up. Under this should be a little thin foam pad, and then we'll roll all that up together. Get it out of here. It's going to be bare concrete underneath. Now to lay the carpet that is going to go here, the short stuff that I showed you previously, we're going to lay down a bunch of adhesive that you can get for peanuts. And once that dries for about an hour and a half, depending on the temperature of the room and whatnot, and I'll show you more in depth later, the carpet will go directly on top of that. But after we pull up this carpet, we're gonna pull up this baseboard, and that's gonna because you're gonna want your carpet laid under this baseboard, and once again can be put back together with tack nails. Square footage of this entire unit is 574 square feet. We will not be doing the closets or the bathroom, but we'll be doing the kitchen, the living room, the hallway, and the bedroom. There's a few double beds in here. We got a table out of here. In fact, here's all the stuff that we have gotten out so far. Now once you've cleaned everything out of the room, and believe me, you're going to want everything out, there's a transition strip right here that you're going to want to pry up. Now these are buggers, and I will show you how to do it. And the tools for this transition project, you're going to need a hammer, and you're going to need a wonder bar or a crowbar. These are the only two tools you'll need to get this up, and I'll show you how to do that. So right now we're going to take up this transition strip. Now in order to do this, like I said, you're going to need a wonder bar and a hammer, and instead of going this way, because this is really tight right in here, you could bang on this and it's going to take forever. Instead, go in the other way where the carpet is, pounding your wonder bar in, and give it a good pry down. And that'll give you a big enough lip to get your hammer right in here. I'll edit that out. And you can get your Wonder Bar right over here and get a good pound in just like that. Then you're gonna pry up, hammer in, pry down, pry up, just to bust these. These are all nailed down. Once you get that, you can start working, and then there's your first lip, and then you're just gonna continue to work down. And little by little, you will get this done. It's a little bit time consuming, depending on the length of the nails that are in the concrete. I mean, these are right into the concrete. Here is that small foam pad that I recommended, or that I talked about earlier, that is under the carpet. Now with the new carpet squares, we're not gonna have a carpet foam under that. It's gonna be right on concrete, and that's gonna it's just gonna work really slick right on it. We've done multiple units like this. Trust me, this is what you want. All right, so I got my hired man here, Timmy, and we're gonna roll up. And now it does take about 2 people. I mean, you're gonna want another person for a car. I don't know how wide this is.
14 feet.
14 feet wide or so, to roll up this carpet, because there is a little, usually a tack, kind of a, what do you call this?
Tack board.
Like a tack board, a tack strip, that just this carpet, not the foam, but the carpet is usually on that, and you just gotta pry that up, pull it up. It's really simple, and we'll show you how to take this out as well. All right, now we have the carpet in the living room pulled up. We're working on the hallway and the bedroom over here. But you'll notice a lot of dirt has, over the years, where natural, this is normal, a lot of dirt has came under the carpet. You're gonna make sure you do a thorough sweep. I don't think you need to mop. I wouldn't put any mop or any kind of moisture on top of the concrete, but you're going to need to sweep up thoroughly, and especially, we'll pry this up in a minute, but when you get the baseboard out, there's gonna be a lot of dirt and concrete chips and whatnot under that. That's when you're gonna wanna sweep. Unless you like to sweep twice, I don't, but you see a lot of dirt like this all over. Another really handy tool that I recommend you get is just your standard carpenter's knife. These things are super sharp, so watch out. Remember, you can flip the blade to get a lot of use out of these. You could probably pick these up in any hardware store for 10 bucks up to 30 bucks. I mean, this is a plastic one. I have a metal one as well that I got from my friend, and these work really good for cutting carpet, and basically any carpenter tool, make sure you order one of these.
And also a little side thing we got here is I just want to show you what I'm filming on. This is my phone. It's an S7, Samsung Galaxy S7. We got a little boom mic here, and we have a little, this is just an LED light ring that you can put on your phone with different settings. I get all my stuff from Amazon, and I got a little Gorilla, it's not called a Gorilla, but it's like a Gorilla tripod thing.
So this is what it looks like with pulling up of the tack strip. You just need a smaller crowbar and a hammer. And you just tap under the tack strip here, and it's going to pull up all, it's nailed down, and you'll see here, this is where the nail holes go. This is no big deal to flake that kind of stuff away. Aside from that, you might find a nail or two in there. You just take your hammer and pry it back up. But this is the process, and it is a little time consuming, but it has to be done, and this is the quickest way to do it. I don't know of any other way to do it, but if you guys invent a product that makes this pop up in a matter of seconds, invent that, patent it, and sell it to me. And here's what a strip actually looks like when you get it. These little nails on top, that's what's holding down the carpet, and these nails on the bottom is what's holding it into the concrete. And these are very sharp, so be careful when handling these. It's good to keep your energy up. I would suggest getting maybe a few energy drinks and and a few chocolate donuts. This is gonna help with motivation and energy. You gotta keep your strength up when doing construction projects. Now, if you do happen to get little nails, just like this one, in your concrete, here's another one, you can simply just take your hammer, get it in there, and they pop right up. They do bust a little bit of concrete, like I said, with them, but it's nothing to worry about. No one's even gonna notice. You pull it up and you just give it a jerk like that, and it's just that chip stuff. I wouldn't even worry about it. We got most of the tack strip off now. And of course, after this last bit is up, we're gonna tear out this baseboard trim. Now, it is also recommended that when you're doing flooring to have knee pads. You're gonna want a good pair of knee pads. You can get them at Menards for almost nothing. But I don't have knee pads, clearly. So I just use an old chair cushion to kneel down on. All right, now we have all the tack strip pulled up, picked up. We still have a completely dirty floor, which is fine. But now we're gonna tackle some baseboard. And to do this, you take your crowbar, you put it right here, take your hammer, and you're gonna pound on the very top. And when you're down that far, you give it a pull back. And kind of like that. There's a nail right there. You just want it so it's out like that. You don't want to bend it too far because you'll snap it and you don't want that. So then you just continue to work your way down like that. Continuing to do that just to get the nails like this and like this out of the way. And do that the whole way down and continue all around. And then after this is up, that's when you can start sweeping. You'll notice a lot of crud back in there. Now, if you come to a corner spot, kind of like this one, where you can't really pull it out because of the wedge, you might have to pull this one out first or almost at the same time. You just really don't, if you want to reuse this, and I recommend you do, don't ever jerk or pull or tug, because it's just kind of stuck. So let's try to pick up on it and see if it comes out. There you go. In this case, there was no nail. It was just really tightly pinched right in there, and that's a really cool tool. It makes it look nice and neat. So just wiggling and tugging, you'll be able to. When you put it back together, of course, you're going to put, this is a flat end. You're going to want to put that right towards the wall and put this one on first and then put that one on second, because it has the grooved lip on top. You'll be able to get a much nicer fit like it was. So our base trim is off. Now we're stuck with a bunch of nails sticking out of the base trim. So what you're gonna wanna do is take your hammer, you need a good hammer. Get a good hammer with a rubber handle. You're gonna get a hammer and you're just gonna pound these back through, and you just throw these nails. I wouldn't recommend using them. Nails are pretty cheap. And I'll show you how you do that. Now comes sweeping. Now you don't need to be able to eat off the floor, but you're gonna wanna pick up basically, well, absolutely everything you can. Nails, I mean, even the smallest nail, you need to pick these up. And in fact, any little crumb, something like this, especially with a short carpet, this can really, you'll be able to feel a little bump like that even in your under your short carpet. So get all that kind of stuff, all the little debris. I wouldn't worry about little flakes of wood or anything like that. Dust isn't that bad, it just makes it different for the adhesive to really stick. Now with the floor all swept up, now we lay adhesive. Now for this, this is what I've been using. It's pretty good. And you just apply it with a roller and just like painting. You roll it up, scrape off the excess till you get about like that, and you just start rolling it directly right on the concrete. And then we're gonna wait about an hour for it to dry, and we'll test and see how tacky it is. This is a huge question I had from the get-go, how to judge when is the adhesive set enough for you to be able to lay the squares on it. Now when laying the adhesive, you know, how much do you apply? You know, honestly, I don't think there's any answer, but it's better to have too much than too little. Really load up your roller, and when you're applying, it's going to be a whole lot right there. When you bring your brush down, there's not going to be as much. I like to leave a whole roll right in the middle, and then just go one whole thing up and then one whole thing down. So this would be like this, and then use this excess here and apply it on this side. So you should have like 3 rollers worth, I'd say, with a good loaded roller. This is a standard roller size. This isn't anything special. This is just a standard paint roller. And don't get it, you can get it on the wall because that'll be covered by baseboard, but don't get it on your heater. This stuff is a bugger to get off, but if you get it on your hands, you can like rub it off and whatnot when it dries. Now if you do get some glue like on a heater, on a surface, you don't want it, because when that dries it'll turn like a darker yellow. You just take your finger, wipe it up the best you can. That's pretty good. It'll be on your finger, and just wipe it off. And this is what a finished floor should look like after it's all done. You can kind of tell it's kind of glistening. And obviously I started in that corner and worked my way this way every time I went down. But you're gonna just want to go an arm's length as far as the roller goes. And now we're going to work on the bedroom. All right, now, and with this adhesive, when you're done with your product here, I usually just take some saran wrap and I seal the top of it. It actually keeps it for quite a while. I would say up to a good 3 days, you're pretty solid. Any more than that, you might start getting some clumps. I've used the same roller for weeks, probably 2 weeks or so. So don't worry about that, but just seal it up good. I use two cut off square pieces and just kind of seal it up around the edges. You also can use a paintbrush to apply this to little corners that this roller couldn't typically get. So it has been about, I would say, about an hour, and it's tacky enough. So here's what you're looking for tacky wise. You don't want it to pick up on your finger, okay? This is perfect. It's tacky. If it was to come up on your finger, you'd see it, but you'd also see it on here. Let's try to find out. Here, well, it's a little wet right there. Yeah, here is where it's picked up. It's a little wet right here, but this is where I finished. I'll be starting in that corner where it's going to be drier like this. So if it comes up on your finger like that, just give it 10 minutes and then check it again so that you don't have any more coming up. And that is how you tell how tacky and how set you want your adhesive to be before you lay your carpet. Now we're going to open the carpet boxes and I'll show you kind of how to lay a living room of carpet. I'm not worried about this room being square. Some people would start in the middle and measure out, you know, how to square it, blah, blah, blah. I don't do that. I start in one corner and I work my way just kind of this way. It's probably not the right way to do it, but I'm gonna walk across here. It's not gonna affect anything by doing that. You take your carpet squares and you get it somewhat cornered. The best to your ability. Get it cornered in there. And you just rub it flat. And that is your first square laid. Now if anything was off from here, you can adjust it little bits by little bits. And you're just gonna lay it in, overlap just a little, and then slightly bring it over and snug it in with your thumb. That's gonna provide a really close lay. And for some people, they might take this pattern and every other one, pivot it, stretch it. But this room, I want it to feel wider. So we're just gonna run the lines that are like this the whole way, just this way. This would be north, this would be south. And that's how we're gonna run it. You can interchange them. You could go this way to make the room feel longer, but that's how you're gonna lay your carpet squares in the beginning. All right, so here's how you lay a carpet square. You put it on a little bit overlapped like this, and you kind of slide it into place, just like that. And you're going to want to take your fingers, one hand here, and your other hand would be here, and you're going to pull. Here's the line, here's the tip. You know, we'll press this in and pull it just to get every millimeter that you can sealed. And if you seal any little bump, like here's a little bump, if you can tell, here's the line. Push that in like this with your thumb. Work it in. Pull it like this just to get every little tightness, and then I don't know, here's one line here where it could have been a little tighter, but it's not going to make it or break it. But that's how you would lay a typical carpet square. When your edge of your carpet here doesn't take a whole square, here's how you do it. It's really quick, it's really simple. You take your square carpet, you lay it down, you bump it up against the edge, and you take your knife. You don't even really need a measurement of any kind. You just get a rough cut like that. And of course you're going to take your uneven edge and put it against the wall, because that'll actually be covered up by the baseboard, and that will be applying in the very end. Just take your carpenter's knife, like I said, to get. Cut it straight down, and it'll fit right into place. It takes half a minute to get this whole process done. And we've actually laid I have a few squares left over there, but we've actually laid this whole thing in probably, what would you say?
10 minutes.
Probably 10 minutes. We laid this whole living room, which is about a 14 by
60? 14 by 16?
maybe like a 14 by 16, somewhere in there. And there you go. There you have it. Laying the flat end right here, and the sides you cut against this part, because it doesn't have to be straight, because this gap here is going to be covered up by the base trim. So, and of course keeping your vertical lines continuing to go how you want them directed. Same thing. Cut it, bend it, and take your knife and get your cut, same thing. And we're just gonna keep on doing that all the way to the end. Now, with the unit we're doing, the carpet actually matches up perfect up to here. Here's where the old base, the old transition strip used to be that we pulled up. So the carpet actually goes right here, and actually the transition strips, which I'll show you in a minute, will go right here as well. But now when we lay the vinyl hardwood planks, whatever, we're gonna go to probably right about in here. Just to leave about that much of room for the new transitions to lay over like that. All right, so here is what a finished living room looks like. I mean, for the most part, pretty seamless. There's a little bit right here, but like I said, this isn't something people are going to notice. This isn't a make it or break it thing. We were able to lay this living room in probably 10 to 15 minutes. Here we are. We're going to start with the vinyl planks now. We have 2 of them in position, and they say sometimes when you start to leave a little gap at the very end, and so for the floor to heave, in case it does, it's not going to pop apart or anything. We don't do that. I mean, if you keep the room warm in the winter, I don't think you're going to have that bad of heaving. You can do what you want. Don't take my word. We're not actually for professional construction people or just normal average Joes. But this is how you do the snap together flooring. So you take your piece and you pick it up slightly, and that's going to pop it directly into place. So connect your next side. There's going to be these little grooves, and you can lay it in just like that. You can also slide them in to conjoin. You'll notice just a pinch of a gap, and that's okay to have a little gap, because in the end, here's the secret tool. This is a tool that you should have when you get your piece, when you get your planking. This is gonna bump together and seal everything. At the very end, once we're done laying, he's gonna make a cut over there. From there, he's going to snap it to fit. Just very easy, and lay it right into place. It's actually the toughest getting started. That's why we did the 2 planks first, so the demonstration would go smoother. To use this tool, you put it here, and you'll notice this will fit just like a glove, like right there. You take a hammer, you tap the backside, and that's going to bring that seal to a hole. Over here with most transition strips, you're going to need to leave at least an inch for the cracks to fit in here, for you to snap, and I'll show you the transition strips later too. But this is kind of the ideal length. And if you do have a little bit over it like this, you can take a saw and grind that straight. But going around and hitting it all together, snug, so you'll have absolutely no gap. There is no gap in here. And don't even worry about getting it even or flush. It can all be dealt with later. Just getting it laid is huge. And then you take the next piece and you lay it in just like so, with a slight elevation on the end to lay almost like an angle like that. So you got a pretty good seal. You'll hear a little snap, a little click when you put it together. And when cutting the end, you're going to want to take the scrap piece. Let's say this came off that end. You're going to want to take this scrap piece and then use this as your starting piece over here, because this doesn't have a lip on the end. This has been cut because you would need a lip like this in order to connect the next piece. So always remember to use your cutoff pieces if they're big enough. If they're small, you don't even worry. And then you would start that right in there. Bump it up against your base over there. Snap it in. It takes a little pickup on the end and it pops right in. And then to seal it with that tool there. So this is actually a unit that we've already done, that we've finished. We just got done laying the transition strips. But here's how the finished floor would look. The wood floor, you'll see it all together, and it would go right into the hallway and the bedroom with your living room here. But here's the transition strips I'm talking about. Like I said, it's basically a small little track that goes in here. I'll show you in more detail. And this is just an overlap onto the carpet. And this is laid down with just some caulking. I'll show you later. But then you got pieces like, I had to cut a little bit like this. This isn't even a big deal. Yeah, we could have gotten it closer. Yeah, we could have gotten it tighter. Whatever. Throw some caulking over that. Whatever. And as far as where to lay your transition strips, basically from whatever flooring you've put down, you're going to want that lip of transition. Obviously, this is from the wood to the carpet. From the wood to the carpet. This is all carpet, so you wouldn't need one here. From the wood to the bathroom. We didn't lay this is original, but since we laid the carpet, you're going to have a little lip of carpet, so it's better to have a nice smooth transition piece, and measure each one accordingly to the door. This is a handicap unit, so we had I think the doorways were 36, they're 36 inches. Here's what that would look like. Now the transition strips you get, if they come UPS, they're going to come in a big tube like this. Just like this, big, huge tube. And inside, here's what the transition strips look like. They're going to come like this. They're going to have your wood piece, but also here's your track. And here is your little bit of, I don't know, fiber board or whatever you want to call it. You could use this. I've been using this as a slight elevation. You would caulk this right under here, and then this would snap together. There's a track right here, and this just, bring it over a little bit. This would just snap right into there. You'd press that together, and it snapped. And you might have to walk on it to get the seal on that snap. Here's actually the caulking we use and this stuff you do not want to get on your hands. This stuff is extremely hard. You basically have to wear it off. So get this caulking. It's a little expensive, but it's definitely worth the money you pay for when laying transition strips. Here's some more of the glue we have for laying the carpet, the adhesive. And here's the paintbrush we use. I always saran wrap it because it keeps the bristles more tense or more loose if we have to do any brushing from the adhesive. And again, here's what a unit looks like done without transition strips. You got your wood flooring, you got your carpet, and then you leave, like I said, this is probably an inch. And your track isn't an inch wide, but it's it's a good half inch. And you're going to want to lay this through. Now, like I said, if it gets a little narrow, you can take I'll show you a hand grinder saw, and you just zip it. It'll come apart and no problem. Now, as far as nails go, with tacking on your baseboard, these are the nails we use. They're just, I think they're just called tack nails. They're nothing fancy. They're nothing big. You would take it and you'd pound that right in to your baseboard, to your trim here, and tack that back on. Now the doors are a little different. I've never came across this, but I guess it's a thing. They have these little things. They come out. You can take your hammer and pry this little metal piece out, but it's supposed to help and keep it in position. And I think with any job that you do, always have a tape measure on you. A 25-foot tape measure. If you don't have one, you need to get one, because most projects you use are going to need that little tape measure, because you get measure twice, cut once.
Now right here is the handsaw I was talking about. Let's say you had a little bit over on your, you wouldn't want to use a saw like this on carpet obviously, but on this you have a little bit over, you're gonna lay your saw and you're just gonna take the edge off. You got to know how to operate these things. If you don't, make sure you find out before. You can lose fingers using these, so learn before. Here we got quite a big difference here. I'm gonna probably end up cutting this, just shaving off a 1/4 inch or so, just so I can hug the track right against the carpet.
All right, guys, we just found something that we want to put emphasis on. When doing this carpet stuff, a lot of dust gets created, especially when tearing out the old carpet and sweeping up all the dust that was under the carpet. A lot of dust gets in the air. So my friend over here had an idea. Let's put a fan in the window to kind of blow some of the dust out. And take a look at this. That's a dust ring. I mean, that's why you want good ventilation, good circulation. This is I'm so glad this happened, because that dust would have been in our lungs. So make sure you either get a respirator or get a fan on, get something going, blow it out, because this gets to be obviously a construction-y kind of project, and you're going to want good ventilation. Another thing I want to make clear is make sure you put safety first. We're not professionals. We don't have hard hats. We don't have safety gear. You should have worn gloves. I didn't wear gloves on any of this. Make sure you have all this proper safety stuff. Google what you need for that. I honestly can't give any tips or pointers on that. But be careful. Know what you're doing through the whole project. And safety first on that kind of stuff. You're laying your vinyl and you come up against some crazy angle thing like this. I mean, what are you gonna do to position your planks with cutting them? It can be tricky, but here's how you do it.
Okay, initially I already cut this short piece. I thought ahead and cut this so the seam is going to be flush with the edge of my closet doorway. So I actually cut about 2 inches off the side of that plank, and you'll see this is a full width plank. I already cut this one, but I made sure to only leave it that long so that way I could get a full length plank without having to do extra cuts to it. So what that means is we can measure and make sure you butt it up against the brown top portion, not over here. You don't need to measure from the edge of your tongue. Measure all the way, butting up against the brown portion, because you're only measuring the top, the face of the wood flooring. And you measure that all the way over to the other side of the doorway. And what I like to do is do about 1/8 of an inch less than what I see. So when I see 47 3/4, I'm going to actually do 47 5/8, because we have baseboard trim that will cover this up completely. So you don't want to go too long, because then you can't fit the board in, it'll get jammed. So we come to a full length, brand new piece of vinyl here, and measure from the edge of the brown face, not the tongue way down there, you don't need that. Make sure you're all the way up on the top. And I did 47 5/8. And I just went ahead and drew a line all the way across, because I have one flush cut up against here. If I were to keep a full length board and try to cut that so it would be out to here, I'd have to cut an L shape in that full length board, which is really hard to do. So just to avoid that, I just went ahead and thought ahead, because I had the experience to cut this little scrap piece short to be flush with this, so we have one seam.
The saw we're using is actually, just a metal saw?
It's just a metal saw for your metal pipe, and it'll get carried away from you, so I just put weight down on it. Line it up nice. Doesn't have to be perfect either because it'll be covered up by the trim anyway.
Now we're going to be reapplying. I tore this off previously, but we're going to be reapplying. I don't know what it's called, but I call it a base seal. And this would go on the bottom. Here's your kitchen, your sink's up here. You're going to put this right back here. This is where it was. I don't know if it's essential, but it helps so water doesn't get under your sink or if you spill anything. But to reapply this, you're basically just going to grab your caulking. This is what I use. And you're going to apply this directly on here and stick it right to there. Super simple. I'll show you how it's done.
All right, so now we're gonna cut with this handsaw here. We're gonna cut this little lip. So now with this little thin wood track laid down that I just laid down right here, I just put caulking underneath it. Next we're gonna lay down this metal track, but before we do, you're gonna, like I said previously, you're gonna wanna snap that right on there. These grooves will go on there, and you'll press them into place first, starting on one end and working your way down, pressing really hard. You're not gonna get it all the way though. So here's what I found to be able to solve that problem. All right, now we're putting on base trim right back on again. You're gonna wanna remember where you took it off. Always remember that. But to put it back on, we use those nails. You know, get it to fit. Even though we have a little bit more elevation with the flooring, it's really not going to make a difference. In fact, it helps because you really don't want to nail back into the old nail holes in the sheetrock or whatever you're nailing into. But you're just going to go along all this stuff. Even do the doors like we talked about before. Of course, avoiding the gap, but nailing in here or over here. There's a hole. Pulling out all your old nails here, if there's any left. And you can either tear these off. You can either tear these off or rehook them in when you hang the doors. Now, when you hang the doors, being you do have an elevated surface, with the snap together wood stuff, not so much with the carpet, but more with the wood flooring. You're gonna notice this right here is gonna be way more elevated. In fact, this corner is just a pinch more elevated. You're gonna want to, and even here, I even nailed in something that bent. Anyway, you're gonna just take, once again, you're gonna take this here saw, and you're gonna take your door frame, and you're gonna saw off just, you know, you can overkill it just a little bit. I would saw off probably a good 1/4 inch. Whatever, however thick your flooring is, that's how thick you're gonna want to make your cut. In fact, just a little more just to be safe. Measure twice, cut once. Well guys, we are finally done. Finally. It's been quite a long day. This is actually the next day that you're watching. And I just wanted to show one more thing before we wrap up the whole recording. If you don't want to lay down this wood stuff or whatever, say this gap is just like too much, you can glue this little wood piece to the track, which is clicked to the transition strip, and just lay that right down in there. You would put caulking all along here and then just press it in here. You could also put caulking in here and on here, but you really don't want too much splurging on the sides. If you were to ever tear this up, it would be a bugger, and it's just, you just don't want to waste money. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something. I myself, when I was doing this flooring stuff, I couldn't find any specific video on doing this. So I hope it helps you. Thanks for watching and have a blessed rest of your day.